Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me. How are you? Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, now we will come to today's news. And what we have here is a big story. Right now, that's developing over in Arizona. A judge has called in Katie Carey or Katie Hobbs and Kari Lake together amidst this lawsuit that Kari Lake has leveled against Maricopa County and Katie Hobbs and many of the institutions there. Arizona forward how they handled that 2022 midterm elections there in Maricopa County, where many voters were disenfranchised because of the machines going down throughout the day, causing many voters to leave and not cast a ballot. Kari Lake believes this was done intentionally by Katie Hobbs, who had the most to gain from it because she was supervising that election, her own election. Will mind you, because she was a supervisor of elections, there are the Secretary of State who supervises the elections and certifies the elections in the state of Arizona, and obviously that was a big conflict of interest, and now a judge has convened them to come together. So of course a developing story will continue to follow it, but I'll give you the rundown real quick on it. So let's dive into what we have here. And it says this judge orders Kari Lake, Katie House, Maricopa County election officials to appear at an emergency hearing regarding an election contest lawsuit, and it starts at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Judge Peter Thompson has ordered Kari Lake and defendants Katie Hobbs, the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, and Alexis directors to appear in court and Kari Lake's election contest lawsuit against them. According to some familiar with matter, Kari Lake will appear at the hearing opposite to Katie. Have probably first time they've been in the same room together. Since all of this has started, it says the Gateway Pundit has written numerous reports on Kari Lake's historic lawsuit to nullify and overturn the midterm election or to hold a new election free from conflicts of interest that corrupt anti-Kari-like officials who ran this election are responsible for potentially criminal actions. Corrupt. Katie Hobbs ran her own election as Secretary of State and colluded with Twitter to censor Kari Lake. Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richer started a dark money pack against Kari Lake and also colluded with the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency to censor election critics. Never in U.S. history has there been so much evidence compiled of a fraudulent contest taking place. To Gateway Pundit reported that the Runback whistleblower revealed that Lake's filing that hundreds of thousands of ballots did not have a chain of custody documentation. This is a shocking and massive violation of the law. 25,000 were also added to Maricopa County's totals after Election Day, with no explanation of why that number remained. Ballots could increase machine to printers, and red districts failed Republican voters at over 59% of polling locations on Election Day, causing as long as 4-hour waits and disenfranchising tens of thousands of Republicans. Republican voters turned out at least 3-1 on Election Day in Maricopa County, and professional voting machine tester Clay Perkins has testified that these issues could not arise absent of internal misconduct. It was recently discovered that Maricopa County's Tabulation and Election Center, run by left-wing Rhino operative Stephen Richard, kept a GOP heat map on its wall before the 2022 election to target Republican polling locations. So yeah, there's a lawsuit. We're going to see where this turns out, with the judge ordering them all to appear before him in the midst of this lawsuit with regard to the handling of the 2022 midterm election in Arizona, specifically Maricopa County, so we'll continue to keep an eye on the story as it gains some traction. And then, some significant news: members of Congress received over $73 million of stolen FTX money in order to get re-elected, and now they don't want to give it back to the people. Elon Musk says Dr. Anthony Fauci should be investigated, and more Twitter files are coming out about COVID cover-up. Republicans put forward a Trump alternative for president, and Twitter reveals how Trump was spied on for months prior to his removal on the Twitter platform. Okay folks, the fourth installment of the Twitter files has just been released. Reporter Michael Schellenberger detailed how Twitter staff mainly donated to Democrats between the year of 2018 to 2022. Democratic donations accounted for 95% of all donations from Twitter staff members. This is key to understanding how Twitter was complicit in being biased against Republicans and against Donald Trump. In the case of former President Donald Trump, Twitter went against their own previous viewpoint on a U.S. president. In 2018, Twitter's policy team stated blocking a world leader from Twitter or removal. Removing their controversial tweets would hide important information people should be able to see and debate. Twitter also stated they do not attempt to determine all potential interpretations before making a decision. Now, despite these previous comments, Trump was banned from Twitter due to how his tweets were being interpreted on and off Twitter. Former Twitter executive Leol Roth admitted they treated Trump differently than all other world leaders. He stated in his specific case, "We're changing our public interest approach for his account." Just to be clear, Twitter's public interest policy stated that elected officials are allowed to post content, even if it violates Twitter's rules if it directly contributes to understanding or discussion of a matter of public concern. Clear evidence is now available that Twitter staff violated their own rules and policies in order to ban President Donald Trump. Now, some of those tweets have been released specifically on January 6, where the former president is telling people to be peaceful, to go home, to not attack. All of that was removed, and so the media has forgotten, maybe on purpose, that he had asked people to leave. Now, in the case of former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, he may be in big legal trouble. It's now come out that he purposely misled and lied to many people in Congress about shadow banning the Hunter Biden laptop story cover-up, and it also appears that Joel Roth of Twitter was having secret meetings with the FBI months in advance of the U.S. election regarding how to handle Donald Trump and his Twitter use. The FBI denies anything to do with this. But the FBI has basically shot their own credibility in the foot, especially when it comes to social media. We know now that Joel Roth was using secret language in order to cover up his FBI meetings with the FBI, specifically around what to do about Donald Trump. This is in September, October, and November before the U.S. election. Representative Kevin McCarthy of California says if made Speaker of the House, he will be issuing subpoenas to the 51 former intelligence advisors that gave sworn affidavits that the Hunter Biden laptop story was fake. We have since learned that they collaborated and lied in order to cover up this story. And Kevin McCarthy says the American people demand answers. New Twitter CEO Elon Musk is also facing backlash for his recent comments about Dr. Anthony Fauci. About half the country loves Dr. Fauci and the other half don't like him. Well, Musk stated, "My pronouns are prosecute Fauci." In a recent tweet, former astronaut Scott Kelly responded to the post stating, "Elon, please don't mock and promote hate towards already marginalized and at-risk members of the LGBTQ+ community. They are real people with real feelings." Furthermore, Dr. Fauci is a dedicated public servant whose sole motivation was saving lives. Musk responded with, "I strongly disagree. Forcing your pronouns upon others when they didn't ask, and then implicitly ostracizing those who don't, is neither good nor kind to anyone. As for Fauci, he lied to Congress and funded gain-of-function research that killed millions of people. Not awesome, in my opinion." Now, Fauci himself has previously claimed that these comments are completely incorrect, that he never lied to Congress. We will eventually find out more details as an investigation into Dr. Anthony Fauci is pending, Republicans taking over the House of Representatives in January of next year. Now I find it interesting that Senator Mark Kelly made this about pronouns and not about the accusations against Dr. Fauci and how he played a role in gain-of-function research in the lockdowns and also forced vaccines. So it'll be really interesting to see what comes of all of this. Another Republican chimed in on this. Senator Rand Paul said over the weekend that Dr. Fauci will not escape Republican questioning under oath, and he will have to prove that he didn't have a part in gain assumption funding, cover-up of the lab leak theory, and the lockdowns. Now, Republicans are now floating the new idea of having Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina be the main person to take on former President Donald Trump when it comes to running for president in 2024. Senator Scott is a conservative in his approach and good with words and policy. It appears some Republicans are chomping at the bit to get a Trump opponent on the ticket, as Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida still has not put forward his bid to run for president in 2024. Now, as of right now, even Senator Tim Scott hasn't officially put forward his name or an official bid to run for president. But again, it seems that there are those within the Republican Party that would like a big, well-known name to go against Donald Trump. On the Democrat side, well, I guess not on the independent side. Excuse me. Senator Bernie Sanders says Joe Biden is a great president. But he is seriously thinking about running for president again in 2024. Sanders is up there in age but seems to be mentally spry and up for the task if Biden chooses not to run. What do you think of Senator Tim Scott? What do you think of Senator Bernie Sanders as presidential candidates? I would love to hear your thoughts. More details are coming out each and every day about the FTX crypto exchange Ponzi scheme. The new CEO announced today they are still finding more and more money. But as of today, they have found FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried gave over $73 million of stolen money to members of Congress to help them get re-elected. The majority of that went to Democrats. But some of it did go to Republicans. At first, it was believed to be around 20 million, then 40 million, then 50 million. The new CEO says it's well over 73 million, and they're still finding more and more donations that went out now, likely hoping he would get attention for being a magnanimous donator to political causes, or possibly it was strategic to get a lighter sentence. But either way, he was giving away tens of millions of dollars of stolen money. Maybe you put money into FTX. And that money went to these senators and these House representatives. However, the new CEO has said politicians should be prepared to have that $73 million of stolen money clawed back from them. This means members of Congress will have to decide whether to return stolen money to Americans, or give themselves a hall pass and say we didn't know but we're not giving you back your money. Now, based on everything you know about Congress, do you think they will do the right thing? Or do you think they will justify a way to keep that stolen money? Over 1,000 illegal immigrants stormed the southern border this weekend and forced their way into the small town of El Paso, Texas. Border Patrol was completely caught off guard and overwhelmed. Most of these people were able to escape into the country. We have no idea who these people are, but based on photographs and video, the media is saying it looks like it was mostly men who were able to break into the country this weekend. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has made a stunning prediction regarding inflation. She stated, "I believe, by the end of next year. So the end of 2023, we will see inflation much lower if there's not an unanticipated shock." So she's saying, a year from now, we might see the inflation needle start to go down. But then she gives herself an out by saying, unless there's an unanticipated shock. So I think she knows it's going to take longer for inflation to come down. And she's giving herself an out by saying, there's so many things that could just pop up. Now, this is the same Yellen that said inflation wasn't a problem, and that it was transitory and would be gone. She's now eating crow, having to come back and say, we totally got it wrong. She's supposed to be the smartest money person in the country right now. And she totally missed the boat for the American people. Now to back up her claims, she stated, we got people back to work. We closed the gap. We have a healthy labor market to bring down inflation. And because almost everybody who wants a job has a job, growth has to slow now. Do you think we have a healthy labor market? Do you think that things are getting less and less expensive? Because from what I see, they're getting more expensive. Former President Donald Trump revealed over the weekend that he turned down a prison swap when he was president. He stated, I turned down a deal with Russia for a one-on-one swap with the so-called Merchant of Death for Paul Whelan. I wouldn't have made the deal for 100 people in exchange for someone that has killed untold numbers of people with his arms deals. Biden has continued to receive backlash for trading a known arms dealer. That likely led to thousands of people dying for a former WNBA basketball player. But this Paul Whelan, this veteran, he still needs to be brought home. So at this point, I don't know how they're going to do that. But the White House says they are continuing to negotiate with Vladimir Putin and the Russian government leaders. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. If you're up for it, I'm gonna get back to work. Thanks for watching.